In this video, which is part 34 of the Coinmarketcap, we're going to focus on our zoom box here, and what we want to do now is to move it fast. As you can see here now, we can move this fast. If you go here, this works fine, and if you go here, you might notice that there's something buggy in the video. I will have that first fixed, but afterwards apparently I discovered it doesn't fix fully. So separate video for that. In the next video I will cover that one. However, here in this video we're going to make sure we have the fast zoom box movement ready. So let's continue on with our item, and this is part 34. What we're going to do now is we're going to fine-tune this and solve the last item here. So if I move this right now, you can see it goes quite slow, even if I go further or faster ahead compared to the zoom box. And what we need to do is we need to fix this so that it will be in the equal speed with our mouse or with a cursor. So let's start to do that one. So the first thing what we're going to do here is we need to go to line 600. So I'm going to scroll down here a bit, and I'm going to find the specific line. That is this line here. So this line will be very important, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this, paste that, and I'm going to say here the max as well. I'm going to put in the max here, and this max will be used later on. This is very important because we're going to do some adjustments compared to what we did in the previous video. We probably will overwrite certain items, and the reason that is necessary because a certain thing just doesn't work, and I've tried to figure out any possible way, but it just doesn't want to work. So I'm going to scroll down here. We have here the drag, offset. Alright, scroll down more, I guess a bit more down here. Let's see here. This is the one here. So what we're going to do here now is this here, the move center, we will send here some additional data point in here. And what I will call this will be very simple. This will be the static, and I call this the scale min value, and that's basically the value that we just put up there. We have the chart min 1 and the chart max 1. So I'm going to say here this will be the static scale max, because what I need is the starting point of the movement and the ending point, because that is extremely crucial for us. To do this, we have here the drag move center parameters that we need to assign here. So here what we're going to do is the min chart 1, and we have the max chart 1. So basically the variables we have there above, which we grab at the moment we click or push mouse down. So from that moment on it will stay static. This is very, very important here. So once we have that, then what we have to do is we have this part, we have this part here, and we have still this here item here. Realizing that this is basically now not anymore necessary. So if you don't have this, because this one is basically from two videos before this, so make sure you have this one here. That's the difference. I'm going to comment this out, but we won't be using this anymore, and later I will delete that. So then what I want to do, we have this difference here. What I want to do now is we want to start working on well, let's save this and see what happens, because this was so complicated. So we can see here, alright, this doesn't work. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to create an if statement here, and this if statement will be based on the scroll point, and the scroll point here, I'm going to grab this one here, put it in there, and then I'm going to say if equals minus 1. So what we want to do with the scroll point is it should never go into minus 1, because minus 1 would indicate we cannot find the value in the array. So that's basically the item here, because look for index off. So we're going to make sure that this blocks it. Another item is later on, because we have so many items here that are connected, and I worked on this so much that I don't even remember anymore which part I removed and solved. So I'm going to just follow along here, and I will try to explain it at my best ability. So once we have this one here, if it would be negative, which is basically we're going to push here, and what we want to do as well is that if our mouse will be going to the right side, in that case, or if our mouse is beyond this area here, in that case the value of this scroll box is always somewhere within there, which is the length, the data array length. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to say drag delta.offset x, which is basically the above here. But then I'm going to say if beyond right, and I'm doing this because sometimes it might jump, so we want to avoid that. And I'm going to say here scroll point equals dates dot length. So I want to say here the value would be length minus 1 because the array length of 200 or 199. But if you do length, we have 200 values in the array. So once we have this, so now what we can do is we're going to calculate, and this is basically the items we have here above, which is the scale statics. So I'm going to say here constant, and what I want to do is I want to know the range between our starting and ending point later on with this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say here this, the range would be equal, and I'm going to say here dates dot index of, and I'm going to put in here. So basically we're going to get here whatever the value is, because here we get the value that would be based on this item here the moment we click on the item and move. So on click it will grab this and that one. So I'm going to show it to you, so let's do that one here, and we're going to say here this is the range of that one, and what we want to do is we want to have the max range deducted from the min range. So we have basically the max static scale minus the min static scale, so we get a range which is the starting point of this and that one here. So to make sure you understand what I'm talking about, I'm going to do here console log. We're going to say a range, but also do console log, and then I'm going to say here dates index max, or well, let's do this one min first, and then let's copy this, put that in there, and say max. Save this, refresh. All right, open the developer tab, and now if I move this and I move that one here, and now I'm going to drag this and move, we get here, all right, max char1 is not defined at 697. So 697, we have this one and that one. All right, interesting. So this one is not working, so I'm going to check here what's going on. Scroll up here, scroll up there. All right, sorry, I said in line 600. Apparently I'm mistaken. It's line 268 or 628. So I'm going to cut out this item here and put that in there. Sorry, I should have researched it slightly better. So once we did this, let's put enter here, save, refresh. We should now see, once we have the movement here, now drag this. Alright, so now we get this, and of course difference is not defined. Don't worry about that, I'm going to work on that. But let's look at these numbers here. Scroll down here, and the first one is 723 if I'm not mistaken. There we are. 723, 24, and 25. And basically, what we get 723, 24, and 25. So according to this here, the range would be 123. So that would mean this to this is 123 data points. And then we start at 44, and then minus, or this is the ending point, 167. If you deduct this, you should have this number, which is correct, which is 40 makes 20, and then this makes 123. So now we have the range here, and let's solve the difference number 2, because that's in here. So what I'm going to do here, I'll just put a difference, and we might change that later on, so don't worry about that. So now we have this, so we have the range here. What I want to do next is create an if statement here. Oh, sorry, not even an if statement yet, we don't do that yet. But what I want to do now is I want to calculate, and this is very, very important, because this is the reason why I was struggling all the time, was when I'm going to drag this later on, I need to know when we hit one side or the other side at the full, then this range should not be adjusted, or else it would be like this. So if I would be here close to the center or close to the end here, or starting point, and I move this to the right or to the left side, what would happen, you would get like this effect like that. So I want to avoid that. So what I'm going to do here is, first of all, I'm going to just work here on the first item, which is from the starting point. So I'm going to say here, let's see, constant range, and this range will be, oh sorry, that's not even a range, sorry, but it's a constant minimum value, and this minimum value will be the dates dot index of, and then I'm going to calculate here the static scale max. And the reason why I'm doing this is I want to calculate, because if I would go consistently to the right side, eventually I will hit at this point and it should be 0, and later on we do the other one on the opposite side, and then we hit 199, and that is basically the moment we want to gridlock the zoom box. At that moment it's gridlocked. So let's have that one here, and then what I'm going to do here is I'm going to say plus difference, and the difference is still here, yes, the same thing that we covered in 2 videos previously, and then we do minus the range, and we expect that basically a 0 value here as we move our item. So if I do a console log here, min value, save that, and then I see I have so many console logs here. What I want to do is I want to hide those because they are basically creating a too much information for us. So I'm going to hide this, but also I'm going to hide here the scroll point. We don't need to show this anymore, that's clear. We already know what this is. The drag start we also are familiar with. These two here are familiar, we can remove them as well. Let's do a quick search here on console logs. The max chart here, I'll just hide this for now. Wait, that's one gone, that's gone, that's gone. Solved, solved, solved. There. Let's remove these or do it like that. Alright, so I have a feeling that we already covered everything. Oh, sorry. I have a feeling that we already covered most of it, so I'm going to scroll down here back to this part. Escape this, save, refresh. And now I'm going to move this. So if I move this, I should see a value of 200, but apparently it's not yet. So, or sorry, a 0. Basically, we want to hit 0, and what we want to do is the moment we hit 0, it should be stopped. Alright, so interesting, we still have some items to solve here. So what I'm going to do here is the following. I'm going to check here. Let's see if I refresh it. Let's check this again. Move this and move here gradually. Alright, you can see here we're still moving very fast. So what I'm going to do, I can just go ahead here and I'll just follow along, I would say. So what I'm going to do here, if the min value would be lower than 0, if that is the case, then what I want to do here is I want to say the min chart, that's this one here, and probably because of the differences here, that's probably giving us a issue. So I'm going to check later on regarding to that. But then what I want to say here is very simply this. The min chart will be equal to, if it's 0, we understand that it should be at the starting point of the array. So that's date index 0. So then, if that is the case, what I want to do is the max chart, and this is max chart 1 and this is also min chart 1, so make sure you have that, will be equal to what exactly? Well, it is basically the date of the starting point plus whatever the range is. So if there's a range of 50 data points, then this plus 50 in range. Very straightforward, nothing fancy here. So that makes all sense. So once we have this here, we have the min and max here. And if that is not the case, else what I'm going to do here is I'm going to say here min chart 1 equals, and then what we're going to grab here, I guess we can even grab these here below. Let's copy this. There we are. I just put this all in here, and that would be plus the difference. Alright, so once we have this, I'm going to just comment these out. We won't be needing that there, but what I want to do here is, because I didn't put a let in here, I'm just going to say here above, let this, no, semicolon. So this is basically a hoisting value. We have no value yet, but then it will eventually correct itself. Save, refresh. Let me double check now if we have something working. Alright, we have working, as you can see here, it's gridlocking, but of course there is still something not correct. So that's what we need to check now. Let's see, we have this part here. And basically, well, let's copy this first. We know that this will be also identical, but then instead of min, for the max chart. Very straightforward. Then we're going to say here the max value. And what is the max value? Let's copy this point here, put it down here, paste that. Go to max value, and how do we calculate the max value here? Well, the max value is, well, let me double check here, is basically we have here, and we know that if the max value would surpass 199, in that case we need to calculate this. So what we're going to do here is we have here the dates index of the max value plus the difference, and then we can remove the range here. Basically that plus difference would be 199 or beyond. So what I'm going to do then is, let's say here, this, put in that, save, refresh, and then I'm going to move this a little bit, and then we're going to move that. Alright, interesting, it instantly jumps here. Let's see, let's check this one more time. There we are. And I was not expecting that, but anyway, I'm going to check later on what it is, because this was so tricky. I will not do any research right now and just follow the code that I already have laid out. So what I'm going to do here is we have this max, we have that one here, we have the let value of max chart, and then what I'm going to do here is to say, let me double check, the max value will be if beyond, like that. So if max value is bigger or equal to dates.length minus 1, which makes sense, and this is very important, because here this is the one that's really struck me and kept me stuck, which is the jumping off. So what I'm going to say here, the difference, and if the difference will be smaller than 0, and what we do more is and, so this is an or, sorry, so this is the or item, so this is minus 1, or the difference is below 0, and the drag delta dot offset x is bigger or equal to right. And the reason for this is that I noticed that when we drag this one later on, if you do this here, you go here, this jumps all at the beginning, and that was driving me absolutely nuts, because it was really very hard to solve. Anyway, this here will block that for us. So then we have that here. What we're going to do here is then we're going to get the max and min value. What we do know for the max value is very straightforward. I'm going to remove that and just going to say here, which is basically the date.length, this one here, that will give us the value of 199. The min value, however, needs to be calculated, and the min value will be based on whatever we have here. Let's copy that, put it in here. Then we're going to say here, after that, minus, that's minus 1, alright. And then what we do as well, after the minus 1, so it's 199, minus whatever the range is. So if there's a range between 50, minus 50 afterwards, so we will have that fixed range stuck on there. So once we did that, we're going to say here max value, we need to reassign this one here, of course, and we make sure that this here is very simple. If this is all fine, we need to change that, and I realized that this here, the reason why it was working so weird, I can already figure it out, that it's probably because we have to put in this value in there. So let's copy this. I'm going to say here, this difference here will be that one. Because we don't want to update all the time, we want to get the static value. That was the most important reason why we had the static value prepared. So I forgot to put that in there, and then you have max, and make sure that the static value here was based on the min value. If I save that, I should expect now a proper movement here. Alright, there we are. And if we go there, we cannot go further than that. Go there. Aha. Beautiful. So this works. We still get some errors. So we can say here max chart before initialization. This is the max chart. Do we have another max chart here? That's only this one. Alright, you can see here, but I guess what we can do is we can just cut this out, put that here, save, refresh. Now move this. Alright, interesting. So this doesn't work yet. That one works, this one not. So let's see what's going on here. So we have this min scale here, and then we have here the static scale. The max value would be that one with the difference. What happened to the min value here? Why are we not having the same structure, or at least not the same response? So we have this plus the max chart here will be that plus the range. And alright, so I already figured out. So the reason why this doesn't work here, of course, after looking at it very quickly, we need to put this in an array. What I did was, I didn't put it in an array. So if I save this, we should have now, let's double check with a bigger screen. Do this, do that, move here. Alright, interesting, that doesn't work yet, but this side works. Let's open up the developer tab, see if we get any errors. We get any errors? No. And you can see here, this was the reason why we had the negative. As I move here, what happens? It gets a minus. And that here is, for some reason, something I can't explain. Anyway, here, we have something, I'm going here, but it's still able to push. And it doesn't allow, or the range here, for some reason, is still recalculated. So what happened here? We have this static things. Where's the range? Here, max minus min. So why are you still changing? Alright, I'll just check that later on. Let's see. Alright, so I am struggling to find the solution for that one. However, I'm going to remove this first. So we have this, because basically this doesn't make any sense. Dates 0 plus range is basically 0 plus range equals range, of course. So this one is fine. So let's save that one. And then most likely what I suspect here is our if statement. It's like this one here. This blocks it because there is no more afterwards another statement. But this one here is probably together than one. So I'm going to combine these and see what happens. So let's start to combine them. So I already tested it just and I discovered that is the issue. So let's put this up here because we want to make sure that the constant of these min val and max val are already defined. These are defined, and what I'm going to do here is basically this. I'm going to move this up here. I'm going to make this an else if, and that's probably the core issue. We're going to cut out this item here, and then I will explain why. Put it in there. There we are. Delete this. Put it up. So what is happening is basically, and this is the reason why it was working on the max value, because the max value was the last part of the if statement. So basically it was looking at if this would be the case, alright, do that. And if that is the case, do the other thing. So what I want to do now is, because now we say it's one or the other and not both, because we had both and that was the issue. So I'm going to move that there. Alright, so let's do that. Do this. Move here. Alright. Then here. And try again. There. There, and we can now roll with optimized speed, and we are finally done with this very, very challenging item for me. So I'm very happy with this. So now we're done. We can finally focus on the scales that needs to be done, and we have to do still the tooltip. But the next video will focus on the scales.